Hey everybody, I want to do a quick little video this evening about my 2019-2020 trapping season that's coming up. Had a bunch of questions about the lures and baits that I'm going to use. So let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that I'm going to use. Now, as we've talked about in previous videos, you do not need to store your bait and your lure in a fridge. In fact, I never really have before until now, just because I didn't have the opportunity to do so. There's no way Daniela was going to let me store this stuff in the house, and I wouldn't want to do that anyway. But and I didn't have an extra fridge to do it. But now I have the extra fridge in my shop, so I have the room, so I store it in here. But in the past, I've just used a cabinet. I've used something that's obviously out of the sun, something that's dark, something that's cool if possible. You just don't want to keep it in hot temperatures all summer. Definitely don't want to let them get in the sun. So anything like that, a crawl space, a shed, an unfinished basement, a barn that's got cabinets in it, or something that you can keep stuff out of the sun and preferably cool. Your baits and lures they'll be fine throughout the summer. So what am I going to use this year? If you've seen videos in the past, you'll see some familiar faces in here. And as I've talked about in the past, I think really if you're in good location, I mean, most of the time these really good bait companies, I mean, they all make good stuff. Some of it you may like better than others. Some of it you may even see some numbers that show better than others. But I think a lot of it is personal preference. As well as, you know, what your confidence level is. If you have a lot of confidence in something, then by gosh, you should use it. So you'll see a lot of Cavens baits in here. I really just have confidence in those Caven baits, and I like them. But you'll also see some new stuff that I've not used before or haven't used in a long time. And the reason that you see that in here is because I think there's something to be said for changing stuff up. I think if you just use the same baits, the same lures all the time, I think some of those coyotes can sometimes get, or at least not know that you're trying to catch them in a trap with bait or lure. That's not what I'm saying, but somehow associate certain smells, certain things with danger. There's studies from the federal government where they talk about, like, you know, when they were out there poisoning all those coyotes in the West, or at least trying to, some of those coyotes would associate certain smells and certain things with danger and actually teach their pups to stay away from that stuff. So that's why I think it's really good. Use those baits and lures that you're confident in, that seem to produce, but also have some change ups. So let's go with baits. You'll see Cavens, Hiawatha Valley in here. I have a little bit left over from last season, and then I have another brand new container. That's probably my go-to bait if I'm ever going to just say which bait do you want to use. That's probably it. Hiawatha Valley just seems to produce over and over and over and over and over again. So I really like that one. I have some Cavens Predator Bait Plus in here. I've used that before. It has always done really well. I have a little bit of Terminator left over from last year. That's a good one. This is one that I've never really used before, and that's Cavens Minnesota Valley. It's a little bit different. It's still a Cavens bait, but it's different, and I've never used it, so that's a good change up. RK's Predator Plus. I had this from last year, and honestly, I started using it right toward the end of the season. Didn't really get to be able to say how good it was, or maybe wasn't. So that's one of the first things I'm going to try this year. It's basically a full container, so I'm going with that. And then I'm also going with Ozark Mountain Lures. This is Border Patrol. And it's a local bait, local company, a good guy. And I used a little bit of that last year, and I probably have 2/3 of it left, so I'm going to start that one right off at the beginning of this year as well. So those are kind of the baits that I'm going to start off with. That's not going to be enough. I'm going to have to get some more. I'll probably throw in maybe like, a Hoosier Trapper Supply. I'd used Top Dog last year, and that worked really good. First time I've ever tried that. I may try some of that. I may try something else. As far as lures go, got some Violator 7 back there. That's kind of my go-to if I'm ever going to go with one. It's a bit skunky, so you obviously want to try some other stuff with that. Got some GH2. It's also a little bit skunky. I've got some Voodoo back there that I used last year. Got a couple of Hoosier Trapper supplies that I've used last year that were good. Those are all things that are kind of left over. Some Yodel Dog, a little bit of Feline Fix, some Gusto back there. What do I have new? New, I have some Minnesota Red. I don't think I've ever used Minnesota Red before. If I have, it's been a bit, so I decided to try some of that. Again, going back to Ozark Mountain Lures, this is Old Cat Medicine Bobcat Call Lure. Not tried that before, so I'm going to give that a try. And then some brand new things that I've not tried. I've not used Bounty Hunter, even though even though I really like the Fox Hollow baits. I've used Voodoo and GH2 a lot, but never Bounty Hunter. I'm going to give that one a try. I've never used a Mark June bait, so I have some Coyote Frenzy in here. I'm going to give that one a try. And of course, I've only heard legend and myth about the old Dunlap Lures Hellfire, so that is going to be one that I'm going to try, because you know it's kind of a myth. Like, does this really exist? Does Hellfire really exist? Well, I have it. As you can see, it's still sealed up, and even though it's sealed up, you can still kind of smell it. It's going to be stout, I can tell. And then another one I have is from Kansas Trapline Products. This is Ed Snyder's company, and had a really good conversation with him this summer. And so I'm going to try this Positive Attraction. He said it's his favorite of all the stuff that he uses, and so I'm going to give that a try. So that's basically like 5 things that I've never used before, lure-wise, that'll be a good mix that I can use with the lures I've used in the past. And then there's 3 brand new baits I've never used before to go with 3 baits that I have used before. And then of course I've got my urines, my Red Fox urine, my Bobcat urine, got some more urine in here. And so that's kind of really what I got going this season. Kind of a mix of new and a mix of old, and we'll just kind of see how it all goes. And then throughout the season I'll kind of adjust. I don't like to buy everything in the beginning of the season, even though maybe it's cheaper because you don't have to pay for shipping then. And I bought most of this at conventions, so I didn't have to pay any shipping. But I really like to kind of see what's working, see what's not working, and also completely change things somewhere in the middle. So that's kind of why I do what I do without buying like all this stuff up front. But if you want to do it that way, that's perfectly fine too. I just like really being able to be flexible enough that I can completely make changes if I'm having like something's just not working out well, or I'm just having a tough season and I want to completely change things. So that's why I only go with this amount and not the total amount for the whole season. So hope that helps. Let me know if you guys do something different. Let me know what your favorite baits and lures are. I always want to know. Maybe there's something I'm missing. I mean, obviously every year I try to try different things, and there's some things that I just, like, I've never actually tried a Mark June's lure. I mean, there's not very many companies that I've never tried, but that's one I've never tried, so I'm going to give it a try. So, all right, talk to you soon. Have a good evening.